Well, hello everybody, welcome back to another Sunday look around at everything that's still somehow growing on in our little Manitoba dungeon garden. I was thinking about it, actually kind of laughing to myself earlier, thinking, you know, I call it the Darwin table, but it's really Darwin's dungeon because it's survival of the fittest all the way around down here. It ain't just on that gray table, it's everywhere. But some things do better than others. So let's start with something positive, shall we? So I guess we'll start off by taking a look at the houseplant shelf where, yes, things are doing fairly well. A lot of these cuttings they seem to be displaying signs of new growth, so I'm assuming they're rooting. The spider plant's rooting. What a surprise. Seem to be finally done pulling tomato starts out of that trough though, so that's good. So yeah, a few more back there. The poor ribbon plant never did fully recover from whatever I did to it upstairs, so I'm going to have to get a new one of those. Start fresh there. Speaking of starting fresh though, the pitcher plant, the one side of it had died off completely, but here we go, starting all over again. So eventually, I'm hoping that'll kind of shoot off to the side. That'd be nice. Thing looks a little awkward right now, the way it's down and back up again, but that one pitcher that took forever to open finally did do just that. This monster pitcher beside it here. This one's slowly starting to die off. I don't know if I should cut it off or just leave it to do its thing. So I'm just assuming in nature it would be left to do its thing. Therefore, I'm leaving it. But in nature this thing wouldn't be growing in a Manitoba basement either. So just have to see. Looks like this one here started to die off as well. It would be nice if I could get a shot inside there with the camera, show you some of the soup with the little bugs in there, but that doesn't seem to be happening. I had toyed with the idea of shaking the aphids off over this thing, but it's catching something, so I'm just going to leave well enough alone. Looks like we've got a new one, might be popping out of that leaf sometime in the next few days. That's cool. Responding very well to this LED light, which is great because, yeah, I'm tired of it looking like it was dying. Usually, this is what it's looked like. But look at this thing. So yes, there's the example of something that is doing well in the Darwin dungeon. And then down here, we've got kind of more of a mixed bag of results. I got to come through here with the clippers. This is clearly not coming back, so I need to get off my hiney and just get rid of it. Got a few tomatoes ripening up here, cute little tiny things, very hard, but still, that's a tomato. Woo, tart too. And we've got this mouse melon. Would you have guessed when I brought this thing in that it would have survived? Sorry for the delay there. It's a tart, tangy little tomato. I'm gonna have to take a few more of those upstairs. Would you have guessed that this thing was going to survive, let alone do so well? I am amazed, and I'm noticing I'm in need of separating that back over there, you. I don't think I'm going to get any basement mouse melons off of this thing because frankly I'm just not taking the time to do the pollinating. It's not like a pepper or a tomato. It's not a one flower touched pollinated thing. You got to kind of go around, find the male flowers, find the female flowers, and it's just a little too nestled away for that. Plus I've got other stuff I got to deal with, you know. But looks like it should be in good shape to go back outside next spring. Can only imagine how dense the vegetation is going to be around the top of that in like 6 months when it can go back outside. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. We've got the Sugar Rush Cream here, kind of dying off at the bottom, looking okay at the top. Not quite sure what's going on with that. Rosemary, I know what's going on with that. You're looking good. But anyway, back here we've got the I'm in No Rush Red. Peppers are dying off on the plant. It's a little dry right now because I haven't watered it in a couple of days. So I was actually kind of worried I might be overwatering it. But this one's still alive. Now the Sugar Rush Cream down here has not taken up any water since last time, and it's just looking worse. So I don't think it's going to be with us for long. the burpy hot lemon, same situation. So there are some tragedies down here, but that said, there are some success stories as well. At my feet, we've got the El Oro de Ecuador still trucking on. I definitely need to feed this to the fish tank today. Probably good 20 minutes or so. I'm going to end up spending painting aphids into my goldfish tank. But to me, it's time well spent, because I hate them, and it's really nice to know that the fish enjoy them. Got the yellow scorpion from 2017. That little freak somehow survived all summer long, struggled, put out tiny little leaves. Now that it's back inside, look at it! It's just, yeah, okay, inside. This is where I want to be. So I don't think we'll be putting that one out next year. Just let it be in the dungeon, where it seems to be a happy little plant. Sand dollar beside it there. I've got a, well, at least one on the top that needs to be harvested. Not so sure about that one in the background. Not quite ready yet. Some new growth lower down. But once I get that nice red one off of there, I'll be clipping that branch back. A little less for this plant to worry about. Probably take it all the way down to the base, really. I'll leave this area here with the new growth. Most of this in the back is history. The MOA Scotch Bonnet, the little plant that wouldn't, somehow is just trucking right along. Kind of thinking about maybe taking off some of these lower branches so we can get a little more airflow, and so that when I have to shake it over the fish tank, and I'm sure those days are coming, it'll be easier to knock the aphids into the tank. Any feedback on that would be fantastic. Little spider plant down there, of course it's fine. I'm thinking the sage needs to come out a little bit. That is not the happiest I've ever seen that plant. Talking about happy though, it's about the happiest I've ever seen that Dieffenbachia. So I guess it can stay there. Would have thought a larger planter might have been in order, but you know, if it's happy, I'm just going to leave well enough alone. Never did get around to transplanting that poor coffee tree, but there are certainly plenty of dead peppers for me to choose from when it comes to selecting its new planter. Got one of the aquaponic varieties here, still seems to be trucking along, although it also needs to be shaken over the fish tank. A couple of nice looking pods on here. Dungeon pine tree. For those of you who don't follow the farm channel, I am in search of pine nuts. This is the longest needle pine I have seen anywhere in town, and it was small enough for me to snag it. So I put it into the fabric planter, where hopefully if the roots, you know, get too big, it'll do the air pruning thing, right? And it'll still be able to grow. Got a couple of little tiny itty bitty ones there. Those are just, you know, more of a shorter needled plant, but that one in the corner, bottom right there, I couldn't put it in the compost. It's so cute. So cute! Anyway, so I think this is probably going to be our Christmas tree this year. We don't normally do a whole Christmas tree, but that's got Charlie Brown written all over it. I gotta find one red bauble. Yeah. So that's interesting, new for the dungeon. Down here we've got the hawthorn spikes. Hopefully rooting up in the compost. We can see that it's definitely a viable growing medium. There's a lot of seeds popping up in there. Looks like a couple of tomato starts. I got tomatoes popping up everywhere. So yeah, it is what it is. We go through a lot of tomatoes around here. A couple of them starting up in these cuttings too. These are hopefully going to grow up to be some raspberry bushes for along the back fence. Not seeing a lot of promising signs of life in there, but you know, they're just taking up a little tiny bucket's worth of space. I can leave them off to the side, shake them out in the spring. Either they have roots or they won't, right? One thing I noticed with these hawthorn berries, though, going back to here for a second, is they do seem to kind of be developing those little, come on camera, focus, little nodes on the end that say, oh, we're going to be the buds in spring. So, yes, quite interesting. Be very cool to get some more of those too. So, let's see, we'll pan over to some of the seedlings. So first off, I guess we'll check the little drawer of shot glass size pepper starts. A couple of these are the Naga Viper seedlings. Still looking like a pepper to me, so that's good. I've got one of these little tiny Nagas upstairs where the Reaper used to be. No, don't know if we'll get to that today, but we shall see. I am having a couple of problems with aphids, but because these things are so tiny, pretty easy to pick them up, take the paintbrush to them, gently stroke those aphids into the fish tank, and well, like I've said so many times, the fish really seem to enjoy them. So far all of these are just random compost peppers, all pulled out at or about the same time. You can see some definite variations in size. This one here is just trucking right along. Okay, so everything in the pepper drawer seems to be doing great. I love these little strip LEDs. Unfortunately, can't seem to find any more online. This item is no longer available. This is from that same random compost pepper selection. Let's see if its roots are really sticking out of the base there yet. Little, really nothing to email home about. What was impressive to me for these two peppers, this one here, it's already got some offshoots in the sides there. I don't know how well you can see that. I'm wondering if that means somewhere along the line the aphid's got the growing tip of this, or what, but that one's got some nice root growth, comparatively speaking. So back under the lights for you. Very curious, very curious. It's going to be an interesting pepper season, 2019. And then of course that brings us to the Darwin table. The oregano is starting to recover from my vicious over-harvesting of it when it was pretty much the only thing the fish were getting to eat. It's amazing that they lived through all of my experimental feeding. Parsley, not looking great. We've got some new growth at the bottom there. Might just be time to plant some new ones. They've been growing for a while in that little styrofoam cup. A couple of the variegated or tricolor sage cuttings. Very hopeful for those. My kale seedlings. Look at that, cute little itty bitty kale leaves. Did some vicious thinning, which the fish enjoyed. Anything that didn't look, like it was going to go somewhere positive, got pulled. Got these ones all planted out. One of those upstairs as well. So I only took 4 out of that, but they are cute, and hopefully they'll grow to be some interesting sized plants in those little tiny cups. Just gonna have to see what comes of it all, right? The tomatoes, I don't know. I don't have it in me to kill them just yet, but I don't see any point in keeping them at this point. The Naga Vipers, some more of those. These are the ones that were definitely the seeds that Punky sent me. Looks like of the 9 that went in, we've got 5 solid survivors. Hopefully going to see some true leaves in there soon. Let's see, over beside the kale. Oh, that garden, which seems to have no name other than the indoor green garden on the box, and it's called a smart garden or something. Silliness like that in the directions. But if you look really carefully in here, some of those pepper seeds have started to sprout tails. I really should have covered them with more vermiculite, and next time I'm in town I might just go get some so that they've got a bit of a covering there. But the pepper seeds have started their tails, and I don't see much of anything going on with the basil. So yeah, we're just going to have to not hold our breath there. Looking behind that though, the Santa Fe Grande pepper seeds. These were in the package of seeds that was sent to me, and very appreciative. Lots and lots. I didn't know I had dropped quite so many in the middle of that. But it does look like lots of these are sprouting. So, yes. I may have to do some selective replanting from that. But it's really nice to see that there is a very basic way that I can sprout pepper seeds somewhat consistently. Now I say somewhat because there have been issues, but these are seeds that I saved from a pepper that was probably premature. So that's probably operator error there, not a problem with the actual plan or technique. Back here, garden salsa, proper seeds. What do you know, we got a pretty decent sprout rate out of that. Starting to get some true leaves in here, so of course, being the Darwin dungeon, there are starting to be aphids inside these. Gonna need to transplant them into their little tiny double cup setups so that they can get brushed off over the fish tank too. It'd be really, really nice to keep all of these plants that I'm getting started. There were so many losses between the start of last year's season and the actual season. It was very painful to go through. Here we have, what do we have here? I think this is the bad brains. This is the bad brains. It's had some issues. You know, the struggle is real. The struggle is very, very real. And the aphids do a lot of damage. But this plant recovered from all that. I'm thinking might be time to cut off these larger leaves and let the middle ones grow out. And again, like that MOA Scotch bonnet, I'm kind of considering cleaning up closer to the stem there so I can get a bit more airflow and aphid flow, really. When I go to brush this thing off, I want all of the aphids to fall. I don't want them to have anywhere to hide. Like, here's the Reaper. I've been pretty thorough on this every day. Actually, already been on it today. And wouldn't you know it, do you see in that top leaf? Sapsuckers. So this is going to get shaken over the fish tank again, but we still have those flower starts. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe as many as 6 potentially in there. So that's really exciting. Terrifying, but exciting. The plant seems to be doing fairly well and has had no nutrients since it was down here as a itty-bitty thing, and then it took it up to the windowsill, what, a couple months ago? It did all this. This is all based off of whatever nutrients were in that soil from my overfeeding it in the first place. Speaking of one of those victims, this is, I believe, the Ahi Fantasy. Again, we've got some really tight growth in there. And I'm kind of thinking, might not be a bad idea, do a little fine clipping. Treat them like some bonsai plants and let that air flow. But it is nice that I have the greatly reduced aphid numbers this year. They're not gone. They're never going to be gone. I can accept this. But at least there are less of them. Turn off that funky plant light. It's a little dark, but at least it's normal color. Oh, the sage. The beautiful sage. Got a couple more rosemary cuttings that I've stuffed in. And again, I moved the hose from the garden straight to the base of these things, hoping for the same result as those last ones. That's about the only thing I can think of that was, you know, truly different from previous times I've stuffed them in here. It's, yeah, water directed straight at the base of the cutting. So a couple more rosemary cuttings because I did take all of those previous ones out. Not going to pull those for a month or so. The oregano. See, that oregano is looking fairly content. I'm looking forward to seeing it just kind of overflowing out of here. And then maybe I won't even have room to put rosemary cuttings in here. Wouldn't that be nice? Yes, yes. Because the fish did enjoy the oregano. They do enjoy the mint, but not quite as much. The chickens have been enjoying the mint, so that's good. Cutting a lot of it back. Camera's having some issues focusing today, sorry about that, but it is what it is. Still not seeing any signs that this little spider plant down here is throwing roots into the garden. Not necessarily sure an aquaponic garden is where a spider plant should be anyway, though. And this basil here, well, having just brought in the seeds from the other dark opal basil plant outside, I might try starting some fresh dark opal basil to fill this. If that other basil ever sprouts in the little, I don't know, knockoff arrow garden, then I'll have some sweet basil for here, but yeah. Looking pretty sad in those 2 containers at the moment. Alright, gotta turn this light back on. Quick look at the fish before I do that though. That light provides such a weird glare on the surface down here. It's like they're all at a disco. But no other casualties, still just that one from the overfeeding incident. The water is, in general, much, much cleaner. The fish seem pretty content still. So that about wraps it up for what's growing on in the dungeon. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, some of it's ugly. It's all real life, people. It is what it is. Got some carrot tops hanging there. I've been feeding those to the fish, feeding those to the chickens. Carrot tops everywhere. Anyway, yeah. I'm not quite sure when we're going to be doing another update here on the JT Bear channel. Lots of farm stuff going on. Don't know what's going on with updates there either. But I don't know, make sure you sub to all the channels down below, and hopefully I'll see you guys before next Sunday on one of them. I don't know where I'm going to be though, so take care, and I will see you wherever I happen to end up. Bye everybody.